Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to discuss the upcoming potential winter storm that may impact many areas going forward into this weekend. Before we go into this video, we please ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, as we will have more information regarding this winter storm as well as many more storms going into the future. We're going to start you off here looking at the European model. Now going forward into this work week here, we're out already to late Wednesday going into Thursday morning. There's going to be a weak low pressure system that develops over the interior northeast going into early Thursday morning. This low pressure will actually produce a decent amount of snow for the interior northeast in the New Hampshire, Vermont, and as well as Maine. These areas could see anywhere from 2 to 4, 3 to 6 inches out of that system. And this low pressure will actually be a major role going forward into the weekend storm. We'll show you here that in a second. This will set up a 50-50 low in the northern Atlantic, which will allow some blocking to take place. Now, when we take this out here to early Friday morning, our storm system for this weekend begins to get its act together over the central part of the United States. And more importantly, we have this high pressure centered over Canada here, just north of the Great Lake region. This high pressure is very critical when it comes to our storm this weekend. Depending how strong this high pressure is and where it's placed, if it's further west, further east, will determine exactly where this low pressure tracks and ultimately what type of precipitation many areas see. But we're going to take this out here to Friday afternoon. You can see snow is beginning to expand on the northern edge here across Iowa as well as Minnesota. These areas get into the moderate snowfall. Now our low pressure center is all the way back in Colorado here, about to enter Kansas. And we're going to take this out here forward to Friday night. This is Friday 10 p.m. Our low pressure is now into Kansas, and snow continues to expand eastward. Now our high pressure is still centered here over Canada, and it is rather strong. A 1044 millibar high pressure is a strong high pressure. This will allow cold air to funnel into much of New York, Pennsylvania, and even down in the northern Atlantic region. Depending how far south this high pressure ends up being determines how far this rain and snow line seeps south. And some of these areas and across the northern Atlantic could see a decent amount of snow out of the system if this high pressure remains strong and remains south. And we're going to take it here out to this is 7 a.m. Saturday morning. Now the rain snow line is pushing all the way into Chicago at this point. Some sleet and freezing rain in those areas, as well as northern Indiana. But again, all snow on the northern edge. Now the northern mid-Atlantic and as well as the northeast, they're under this high pressure here, which will allow for that cold air to funnel in. So these areas will take longer to change over to rain, and in fact some of these areas may not even change over to rain, especially for interior northeast. But we're going to take this out here to Saturday afternoon. This is now Saturday 1 p.m. and you can see the snow is beginning to enter into Pennsylvania, Northern Virginia, Maryland, and these areas will see a decent amount of snow from this system during the day Saturday. Now, the European model is a little bit warmer than some other model guidance suggests. It shows a quicker changeover for some areas in Pennsylvania. We're going to look here at a closer view. Again, this is the same model run. We're going to take it out here to Saturday at 1 p.m. And again, the snow is beginning to expand into Pennsylvania, but you can already see some changeover going on in the Laurel Highlands, as well as rain beginning to enter southwestern PA. Now, I know many of these areas across southern Ohio, western Virginia, or western West Virginia, that is, and southwest PA, these areas are known not to do so well in this type of setup. If you're looking forward to some snowfall out of this, you might see some snow, but not as much as some areas. Again, the high pressure here over in Canada is really influencing these areas for some snowfall, and will definitely elongate the amount of time that these areas do see snow on Saturday. So you can see this moderate to heavy snow is now in much of Pennsylvania here, Some freezing rain is going on over the lower highlands here, as well as the higher elevations in the mid-Atlantic region. But going into Saturday night here, you can see again much of the area stays snow just because of this high pressure that is over to our north here, allowing for these colder temperatures to really lock in the area. Now, if you notice, the low pressure center is actually to our northwest, which again, given any other scenario, this would be an all rain event for anywhere east of this low pressure, with the exception being maybe northern Maine. But because we have that high pressure locking in the cold air for the region, this looks like a mainly frozen event for any areas Pennsylvania on north. Now, that doesn't mean that these areas won't see any type of changeover at some point, but it looks like the dominant precipitation type will either be snow, sleet, or freezing rain rather than plain rain. Now we're going to take it out to early, this is now going into early Sunday morning, and the European model does have a change to some rain across Pennsylvania. Coastal areas, this does not appear to be your storm as of right now. It looks more rainy. This is more of an I-95 north and west type storm. That seems to be a fair dividing line at this point. That is until you get up to like the Boston area. Those areas will still see some snow out of this system. But again, the interior northeast will see more snowfall out of this system than what everyone else will see. And we're going to take it out here to Sunday afternoon. The storm begins to wrap up here. So what are we looking at in terms of snowfall totals? Now, it's far too early to go into specifics, but we're going to show you here what the European model is printing out. This is not a forecast. This is one model run. This will change in 12 hours, but this is what we're looking at currently. And you can see a fair amount of snow. Now, I want to go back here because not all this is from the weekend storm. The first storm, again, like I said, does put down a fair amount of snow. According to the European model, this might be a little bit overdone, but the European model is showing well over a foot of snow for the interior northeast going into Thursday. Now, again, I think it might be a little bit overdone, but a significant amount of snow is definitely possible for these areas, as well as going back into the upper Midwest here. Some moderate snowfall amounts, and unless you live in far northern Minnesota, where areas could see over 10 inches of snowfall from this first storm. But now taking it out here to our second storm, so now this is combining the two snowfalls, and that's why you see some really, really large snowfall numbers for some of these areas. But you can see a decent amount of the eastern United States sees a good amount of snow from the second system that impacts the area on Saturday. Much of Pennsylvania sees anywhere from 5 to 8, maybe even 10 or so inches of snowfall, while the interior northeast also sees about 5 to 10 inches from it. Now again, this is according to the European model only. For those people that live out west here in the Chicago area, Chicago's riding the fine line right now. A wiggle south or north 50 or so miles makes a huge difference between a lot of snow and just a little bit. So there's plenty of to track here over the course of the next several days. Before we leave you with this video here, we're going to look at the GFS. Now this is the American model, so this is another scenario. General same concept. We have our low pressure cutting to our northwest. We have the high pressure locked in over Canada, allowing for the colder air to really lock in place here. And then we have that 50-50 low that's off the picture. That's also allowing for this storm system to slow down. So instead of a quick mover, this will be a slow moving system. And we are looking here at 7 a.m. Saturday morning. The GFS, the American model, is a little quicker with the arrival, by like 3 or 6 hours or so. So this takes out to Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. and you can see moderate to heavy snowfalls breaking out in Pennsylvania, but sleet is expanding into much of northern Virginia and West Virginia and Maryland here, while our freezing rain's a little bit further west into West Virginia. Our low pressure here is over Michigan, and this begins to really fill in over the area. Again, heavy snowfall across eastern Pennsylvania and central Pennsylvania. But notice again, southwest PA is changing over to plain rain at this point, but some freezing rain over the Laurel Highlands. And that high pressure remains locked in place, so this is going to be a longer duration snowfall event for many areas if the GFS is right, and of course if the European is right as well. Now I'm just going to play this forward here. This is now 10 p.m. Saturday night. This is again the same general concept here. The GFS is a little bit more aggressive with a transfer that will really only benefit areas into Maine and Vermont, New Hampshire, depending how quickly that transfer takes place for some higher snowfall totals. So what do the snowfall totals look like on the GFS? Again, this is not a forecast. This is one particular run, and you'll see the difference between the GFS and the European model. Here's what we're looking at the GFS, the American model. So again, this is from the Storm 1. The GFS is also aggressive with the first storm for interior Northeast, putting out anywhere from 6 to 15 inches of snow in some areas. While I do think it's a little overdone, it's certainly possible these areas could see up to 10 inches of snowfall, maybe a little bit more in some localized areas, as well as the upper Minnesota area and Midwest here. These areas could see anywhere from 4 to 8 to 6 to 12 inches of snow with that first system. So we're going to take the second system out here, the weekend storm. And the GFS is a lot more aggressive for the Pennsylvania area. You can see anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of snow according to the GFS, with some lighter amounts further south and west. Not much going on in northern mid-Atlantic region. Central Maryland is getting into the action here for the snow. The rain snow line's a bit farther southeast. The I-95 isn't so much of a divider here. So we'll see how this plays out again. A wiggle 25, 50 miles northwest or southeast. That makes a huge difference for these areas riding the fine line between the rain and the snow. But one thing we can say for sure is that this storm system will likely provide a little bit of everything for much of the area, whether it's snow, sleet, or freezing rain, or maybe just plain rain. But we are now 4 days away from the system, a little bit more like 4.5. So there's going to be plenty to change over the course of the next coming days. Again, want to remind you to please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Of course, follow us on Facebook. We'll continue to have more updates regarding this storm and many more to come. I hope you guys have a great day.